Hi, I am going to show you a little bit about Hayden King's art that he did at Teller. Hayden decided to play with squares and he created a neat command called scqqii. So one of the first commands that the kids learned in this camp is how to create a square. Hayden called his command sq. It accepts an input, and so if I said sq50, it's going to draw a square of size 50. If we said SQ100, it would draw a square twice as big with sides of 100. So this command is pretty simple. You just go forward 100, turn right 90, and you repeat this 4 times. All right, so Hayden decided to go ahead and play around with this, and the first thing he tried to do is he said, what if I repeat this square a couple times? Let's repeat it 5 times. I'm going to make my square, let's say of size 50, but then I'm going to scooch forward just a little bit. I'm going to go forward 3, okay, and let's see what happens. So as you see, he created a square of size 50, it scooches forward 3 steps, makes another square, does this 5 times. So he really liked this effect. In SQI, the first command he created for his art, he does this, I think he does it 30 times. So he creates a square, scooches forward 3 steps, and he repeats this 30 times. So this was something he really liked, but then he decided, what if we add to this? And we are going to turn the turtle 90 degrees at this point, and we're going to do SQI again. And thus SSQQII was born. So let's take a look at what this does. SSQQII will make squares of size 50. And so if you notice, he makes SQI, he turns 90 degrees, and he does SQI again. And then the really important thing that Hayden does is he returns back to the original position with the original heading. And this is really important so that he can use SSQQII in his next explorations. All right, so let me just show you what SSQQII looks like if we put in different inputs. So if we say, let's make squares of size 100, that's what it looks like. If we wanted to make squares that are even smaller, let's say 10, we start to do stuff like that, and we can even go crazier and say, let's make size of 1. Okay, so in his heart, he does play around with some of these numbers in creating different effects. All right, now that he has SSQQII, he decides to put this into polygons. So for example, if we want to draw a triangle, we can say repeat 3 times, let's go forward 100, and we're going to turn right 120. This will draw a triangle. The sides are going to be of size 100 steps, and you turn right 120 because I know that in 3 turns I need to make a complete 360-degree turn. So 3 times 120 will get you back to 360. All right, so there's your basic triangle. But now he says, what if at each vertex I create an SSQQII and I wrap that into my triangle. So in here I'm just going to do SSQQII and let's make it of size 50. All right, and let's see what happens. All right, so if you notice, I am making my triangle right here in the middle, but at each vertex the turtle is drawing SSQQII. To see this even more clearly, let's do a left here. And with a left, what will happen is that the SSQQII will wrap on the outside of the triangle rather than on the inside of the triangle. Okay, so here's your triangle, but instead you're making left turns, and what happens is SSQQII gets wrapped along the outside. The next thing he does is he says, let's make a decagon, so a 10-sided figure instead of a triangle. Okay, so we're going to make this repeat 10 instead. Forward 100 is going to make a really big shape, so we'll make this forward 10. And instead of left 120, I know that in 10 turns I need to make a complete 360-degree turn. So this is going to become left 36. So let's see what happens now. Okay, so if I hide my turtle, you can see clearly in the middle a decagon, a 10-sided regular polygon, and at each vertex we're creating the SSQQII. And then again, what happens if we put this on the inside instead of on the outside? You get this nice flower effect. All right, so he could do some really neat things with this command. The final thing I'm going to show you is that instead of completing a complete decagon, I'm only going to create a piece of this. So actually, instead of a 10-sided figure, let's do a 36-sided figure. Okay, so I know the right turns are going to become right 10. All right, and now let's make smaller squares in SSQQII. So let's make this SSQQII 5, for example. Okay, so if I wanted to do this all the way around, this is what it's going to look like. So you see, as we're making more and more sides on our polygon, it's looking more and more and more like a circle. So that's kind of cool. What if instead, if I wanted to stop 2/3 of the way through? So let's, instead of doing 36, let's just make this 24. So it's exactly the same shape, but I'm going to stop after 2/3 of the way around. Okay, so it kind of creates these neat shapes. And then the last thing you can, of course, always do is play around with your colors. All right, so this is Hayden's art, SSQQII, and then his eventual art was SSQQII star.